Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Living the Six podcast. This is a very special episode at an exciting time of year for us, as we're here at the time of our now annual Growth Summit, a great opportunity every year to come together as a company, learn together, hash out and revisit our purpose and values, and look forward to events ahead. It's definitely an exciting time of year for us. We have a lot of new and I would say innovative plans and things that have been in place pretty much all year that are finally coming to life. It's been really cool to see everything start piecing together. So we're excited to be in the middle of this as you're listening to this episode. And today we have the opportunity to sit down with some members of the company who have been extremely impactful and influential in seeing and carrying the vision and helping it come alive. Of course, I'm Steve Schwartzman, excited to be here with you. I'm here with co-host extraordinaire Nicole Fisher. Nicole, how's things?
I'm thrilled, mostly because I'm kind of intimately familiar with like the creation of the Growth Summit as well. So I'm happy to talk about it. This year is super special. It's like our biggest virtual event ever that we've put on. So I'm ready to get into the details and talk about it.
Yeah, Nicole is not short on work hours when it comes to planning out and putting the summit together for certain. So again, we have a fantastic panel of individuals who have been very influential in putting this Growth Summit together. First and foremost, we have our account manager for our performance and analytics team, Camille Cawley. Camille, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Next, we've got Emalie Case, our head of corporate training and talent development. Emalie, and also someone known more informally as my boss. So if you guys are curious how I'm feeling leading into this one, but Emalie, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
You bet. And last but
certainly, you're going to be graded on your performance this episode.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that one-on-one. That'll be a good one. Last but not least, our VP of our indirect channel, Doug Bay. Doug, thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I think they say this a lot. First time, long time, right? I'm a first time on the podcast, but a long time listener. So looking forward to it.
Thank you for listening.
See, yes. Somebody's out there listening, right?
Always good to meet a fan. Yeah, definitely.
I didn't actually say I was a fan. I just said I listen.
There you go.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I love it.
Those aren't mutually exclusive, apparently.
It takes a lot to be a fan. Well, it is definitely a pleasure to have everyone here. I know, especially with the Growth Summit, this has been a long time coming. Plans for this have essentially been ongoing since the close of the last Growth Summit, right around this time last year. So just to jump right in for the group, I'm happy to hear everyone's perspectives here. What's the feeling now that we're finally seeing this event coming to life? We went from your classic brainstorm session. We've been booking keynote speakers, putting together inventory and time. There have been dozens of people who have been helping putting this together. What's the feeling now that we're finally rolling into this event?
It's kind of a big deal. I think that, of course, there's a lot of work that goes into it and thought that goes into it. But knowing now that we're going to have an impact with employees of not just one message or an opening and closing remark from the executives, but this is a summit to come together, have fun, be inspired, learn some new things. And it's all to wrap up an incredible year that we've had. The cool part too is that people have put a ton of work into preparing for it. And it's the investment of time, finances, all those types of things is incredible. But the takeaway that people are going to have from this is totally dependent on how much they want to invest. And they have lots of options during the week, after the week to take part in it.
Yeah, I would agree with Camille. I think from where we have been an integral part in planning this, to see it both behind the scenes, but now to a point where we're going to get it, to see it rolled out to the company and the experiences and, to her point, the takeaways people will have, I'm really excited for. And as Nicole mentioned, I'm excited to see a week-long get together with, different speakers, different events, different remarks, different takeaways for us to all, have a part in, which has been very different than these last almost 2 years. And so I'm excited to see it finally all come together.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo those comments, but what I'll say, there's nerves here, right? There's a little bit of, it's like that nervous excitement because you're looking forward to all the effort that comes together. And as you'll learn throughout this podcast, there's a lot of pieces pulling together, client roundtables and executives are speaking, and there's group events. So there's a lot of fun stuff we're doing, but a lot of work behind the scenes to get it done. And I'll feel a week and a half from now when it's all done and goes well, like I know it will, I think I'll feel a little better, but there's nerves there, which means it's something we care about, right? You wouldn't, if you didn't care, you wouldn't get excited. You wouldn't get that feeling in the pit of your stomach. Like, I hope this goes well.
I know, I feel you there. I mean, all around, it's been kind of different this year. For those of us that were with us for last year's Growth Summit, it was one and done in a day, right? And I almost feel like this is a much better, more flexible option now that we're fully adopting. We're getting used to how virtual events, are transforming and continuing on into like fitting into a remote work flexibility, right? And so how do we structure events that are both impactful and, flexible, right? With, today's new requirements for those. What did you guys like? I mean, since we're doing this differently, this is the first time we're giving others like an inside perspective of what goes into these events. We're going to share a lot of learnings that we had putting this together, but we wanted to get your reactions actually to when this plan for the Growth Summit and how differently we were doing it this year came about. What were your reactions to hearing how this Growth Summit was going to go?
I mean, I'll jump in there. I'm super excited about it. As someone who's managed remote individuals, so folks who didn't work out of a corporate office or HQ, most of my career, it's really exciting, how many different ways there are to participate and how accommodating it is to the virtual environment. And certainly, the COVID and folks working from home was a big reason why. But we're a much larger organization even now than we were a year ago in terms of diversity and location. So the fact that folks overseas, folks in the East Coast, the West Coast, LATAM, all over the world can participate in this in somewhat the same way is actually really exciting. And I think we learned a lot from what we did last year and what we did well and maybe what we can improve upon. I love the fact that this is a week-long event and there's multiple ways to participate as opposed to, hey, you got to show up to this 1-2 hour block to get the live experience. Otherwise, you're not part of it. So I'm really happy with where we're going, excited about it, but understand there's a lot of moving pieces, right? And it's a whole week's worth of work instead of just a few hours.
I love the perspective on the remote focus because I feel, if you look back, I'd say if you look at business history, you could say about 20 years ago, Steve Jobs probably revolutionized the all company summit meeting. There's been other examples of it, but that's when, in the last 20 years is when these type of meetings have been, for better terms, like pandemonious events down to, big presentations, large screens. It almost has a rock concert feel. I've seen company summits with confetti, and we've had experiences similar to that have gone really well. But that experience is revolutionizing all over again over the past couple of years and into now, where we're now finding new ways and opportunities, not only to deliver this content to people, but how is it just as impactful for our remote employees as it is our employees who work at or close to our HQ offices, so that everyone really feels like they're an embedded part of the movement that a lot of people are feeling. It goes beyond, this, we desperately never want this to have a, you had to be there type of essence to it. It's something that everyone should feel, everyone should enjoy. And that's something that I've really been intrigued at seeing, is that embedded focus on, we want to build content, not just make it available for people who are in a remote setting, but create content with them in mind. So it's built, curated, organized to be impactful to them. And Doug, you said you've worked a lot in remote. The experience of, well, we'll have a meeting, we'll put a camera in the room, it'll kind of be facing the PowerPoint screen. Hopefully everyone can hear and see it correctly. The days of that as a practice have been probably outdated for too long. And so to see a lot of that intentional effort has been really exciting, encouraging, and empowering for certain. And as we talked about, this is definitely at a larger scale we've seen before, as opposed to one day. We're scaling this out a week, and every single element of that week has been given embedded focus, embedded, insight. There's really been no effort spared in that note. I'd be interested in hearing everyone's experience as far as what focuses you guys each have been assigned to as far as committee is, what, your general cases have been, and what that experience has been like for each of you.
Yeah, I was in charge with a committee of finding who our keynote speaker could be when it came to mental wellness. That's one of the topics we'll discuss over this week. There's a lot of reasons for that, which we can dive into, but it was a really great experience. Kind of intimidating, I'm not going to lie, to be in charge of, finding who that individual is, because for me, there was some anxiety on, we want this person to resonate really well with our organization. Mental wellness is a heavy topic. It's not just something that's always lightly spoken about or comfortably spoken about. And so we wanted to ensure that the individual we picked really aligned with our values, especially we care, because it's been a difficult time for many people, and finding that relatability to someone to come in and speak to us was really, really important to us. And I'm so, so excited for the individual we picked and cannot wait to hear from them.
Yeah, I feel that. And I can only imagine how much, anxiety that went into choosing and finding that speaker. But I'm super excited for that keynote and listening to it. But I was going to say, it's so great that there was a keynote dedicated for mental wellness. And it's not, I say that because we see a lot of other companies doing the same thing, and it's not just the trendy thing to do. I don't want to look at it like, oh, other companies are doing it, so we got to do it. There's a real focus and a real emphasis on how we can take care of ourselves in, this new environment. So I'm really thankful that we dedicated a whole keynote to this one.
Definitely. Emalie, as a quick follow-up, if you don't mind, as well, you talked about, this goes beyond just who's a good speaker, who's popular, has an exciting story, but it's what are those, it's finding those characteristics that really show that they fit in this discussion, that they, that their presentation is very endemic to the values, the purpose, what we're trying to get across. Were there certain characteristics you as a group were looking out for when you were determining who this keynote was going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we found so many great speakers that we felt could really align with our organization. But the person we landed on, she's actually local and came recommended to us from an employee here at MarketStar. We wanted someone who could bring a unique view on challenges. And, a lot of times we're on camera every day. We do nothing but Zoom hop, it feels sometimes, and we don't always see behind the curtains and know what happens once that camera goes off. And so we really looked for someone who could come in, relate to our workforce, and at a work level too, because, we work so much. We have, our personal lives tied into that on top of many other things, and finding the person that could connect those dots for us. And again, be very relatable to our values, our organization, what we wanted out of this person, even on a global level. I mean, we're not even just talking locally to where we're located, but, connecting those for people, regardless of where you sit, was important. And this person, really came to the table and showed us that she can connect those dots and, has a very intriguing story with some of the challenges she's dealt with in her life, and how reaching out and leaning on others is the key to getting through things and helping one another.
It feels like we're holding back a secret, who is this speaker? Well, I guess those who attend will know.
They will. It'll be a surprise, and an awesome one at that. She's great, by the way, to follow on Instagram, and has some really awesome posts to relate to as well. So I'll also throw that little carrot out there.
Camille, I know on your perspective, you've had the opportunity to focus on the employee growth roundtable piece to it. This is, to me, one of the more unique focuses we have for the Growth Summit, because it really allows us to get to know employees from seemingly all level at the same amount of time. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what this track of the summit entails, and what your mindset has been in helping put it together.
So as you said, I have the chance to put together the panel that will be speaking about their growth stories within MarketStar. There will be two. So one is regarding people who have started as a rep and now are in sales management, and then others started as a rep and now they're in support management. We at MarketStar definitely have those two different paths that you can go. I am unique in the fact that I've started as a rep and I've been in both sales management and now in support management. And so when I got invited to participate in this portion of the Growth Summit, I was super excited because it's like, okay, who else out there, is like me and has that story to share. So we had the opportunity to look at the entire business. We reached out to VPs, directors, managers to see who on their teams had these experiences as well. And it was incredible as we saw this list grow and grow, that there are people who started some on the front line and are now help leading out the company. So it's been an awesome opportunity to prep them as far as, hey, we want you to be raw. We want you to tell your story. The Growth Summit is going to be incredible. We have amazing speakers. We have some fun activities. And this is our chance to hear from our people. And we know that the growth stories aren't easy. It's not a direct path towards growth. There's ups and downs and twists and turns. And as we've been preparing for this, we've learned that people have the positions that they do now unexpectedly. Not that they didn't work hard for them or prepare themselves for it, but in the beginning, they didn't see that. And so I'm hoping that through this portion of the Growth Summit, that we can tell people the story that there is so much opportunity out there and that you're in charge of your growth.
Now that, Camille, is something that I think a lot of people are going to really, really enjoy, because I know those stories have been a long time coming. It's just finding the right forum for them to happen in, right? And I'm really glad that we made time for it. I'm actually one of those people that has had like many changes in positions at MarketStar. I actually started on frontline as well. So that subject resonates with me extremely, extremely well. And it's so weird because I started on a sales team and then I took a hard left into marketing, which is one of the best things I ever did. And now we're here, right? So I want to hear more of those stories, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, I love the emphasis on connection with this summit, that this goes beyond put your CEO on a stage and talk about big numbers and big things ahead. We're truly trying to make an impact from the bottom up. And I really have loved that, general mindset. And I think we'll be able to hit that. But of course, I wanted to give Doug a chance to talk. I know you've had your hands all over the place. One specific spot is taking the opportunity to invite some of our client guests to have a similar roundtable, but also to just make sure that our clientele as a whole, whether it be indirect, direct, customer service, what have you, really get a feel for what it is we're trying to accomplish here and why it matters. I know we've heard a lot of stories over the past year about the empowerment clients have felt with the rollout of the purpose and values. What's your experience been in putting this together? And have you seen any added impact or added reaction from clients, specifically when it comes to the summit and its connection to the values?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it's been really exciting and rewarding to see how clients have reacted across the organization. And our client roundtable does encompass indirect, direct, ad tech, so customer success. So we have clients from a spectrum of the business we support, which is really exciting. But one of the challenges we always have when we do something like this is we're pulling our teams away from, selling and engagement hours, right? We're asking them to invest in themselves, invest in the company by using that time to attend, a week's worth of events. And I think it helps our clients that this is spread out and we're not monopolizing one day, and that it can be done, virtually and recorded. But what's been exciting is, that trepidation went away pretty quick because almost all of our clients were excited to hear we're doing these things. And they wish some big clients, very powerful organizations that you think would have this stuff buttoned up, we're almost jealous of us investing this and investing in this and doing this. They like that we have values that we tie into our business for our people. They love that it's not just, a document we circulate, that it's something we're investing time in and focusing in on. I think growth is a really powerful thing as a purpose. And it's really important when we talk to our clients that, yes, that means growth for the business we support, but it also means growth for those individuals. And you know, I'm sure there's stories here or there where clients are challenged with us pulling people off phones or whatnot, but the overwhelming reaction was, I'm super glad you're doing this. How can we help? And that's awesome. That's really great to hear. And that clients and people outside the organization are seeing this as really valuable.
I think we found a really good balance. The fact that we can have any and all content from all of this week, like on demand, it just means that it's flexible enough. Like we said earlier, it's not only beneficial for everybody around the world to experience in multiple time zones, locations, geos, you know, things like that, but then also flexibility in, you know, your schedule work-wise, right? And so you can consume that content anytime you want. And so I'm really glad we found that balance too. And that's so cool hearing the reactions of our clients that just are jumping at the bit to like participate in this. And I don't know, that just warms my heart.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. And I'm proud of who we've gotten to attend our client roundtable, and excited for you guys to get to hear that. And I encourage everybody listening to this podcast to, you know, listen to that roundtable as well. But it's exciting. It's really exciting in a way that getting to see and have conversations around what that group should look like, and the diversity in terms of the clients, the size of the client, the role of the client, will be really interesting to kind of pull together. And it's always great to hear how clients think of MarketStar and why they work with our organization, and how they see the business as a whole. So really valuable for individuals to hear that. And they're going to get access to the business I support isn't the only business of MarketStar. You're going to hear clients who come to us for a multitude of reasons. And that's really exciting. So looking forward to that. Obviously, a couple T's to cross and I's to dot as we're down to the final days here. That's where the nerves come in, but super excited about the clients we're going to have and the experience that it's going to give to the MarketStar audience.
Hey everyone, we wanted to give you a quick invitation to join the Living the Six podcast group on Facebook Workplace. The group is one of the best places to stay connected with the show. You'll get notifications for new episode releases, polls, topical questions, and be a part of enriching discussion on learnings and insights for living the six values. Not only does MarketStar Workplace make it easier to collaborate with your colleagues and fellow listeners, it's also your go-to resource for the latest news and updates across the company. Simply log in via Office 365 or directly at marketstar.workplace.com to get started on Workplace. Then search for the Living the Six podcast group and request to join. That's Living the Six -podcast. And I think you've touched on kind of the next thing that's been wriggling around in my head, as I think some, you know, an element of this experience that's been unspoken that I don't think is at all out of line to hit on the podcast is this process has been a hard's not the word, but it's been a long and workful process. There's been a lot that's gone into it. There's been a lot of stress, a lot of coordination from all levels. You know, I've had a chance to chat a lot with our director of marketing, who's more or less overseen this entire experience. And I was telling him the other day, man, I feel like you almost look like you're planning the Olympics right now. You know, it has that type of feel to it, like everything's coming together and is every minute detail ready and set up to go. And in a way, it's kind of like that. You know, I've told people, like, you know, the summit to me right now, this almost feels like our Super Bowl, our March Madness, our Coachella. I don't know, well, you know, that big event that really stands out. I tried to do a non-sports one to make it balanced, but I don't know if that worked or not.
Well, I don't know. That was actually pretty spot on, and kind of ironic that you said that, considering our director of marketing's background.
Yeah, exactly. There have been a lot of those kinks, those frustrations. What I would say is, for the individual listening to this who may not be directly connected with MarketStar, who may want to look at something akin to this in their own circle, what were some of the lessons you've learned that maybe you wouldn't immediately know outside looking in? If someone says, you know, what's something I need to know, what's something you can tell them that might throw them off a little?
I think our situation is a little bit unique. When I first learned about the Growth Summit and that it was going to be a week long, we had all these speakers, my first thought was literally, dang, this is expensive. But then when I started to help build this out, what I realized is that, yes, MarketStar is definitely making the financial investment to connect the entire team, which is worldwide. They want to make it valuable. They're not wasting a dime. That's really because of the grassroots approach to this. We have people who it's not their job description by any means to put together the Growth Summit, but it's people who really care about the company. And so my piece of advice or piece of warning, whatever it may be for someone that's trying to put something like this together, is it's not just about the dollar amount investment. It's really about that people investment. It's good to have differing opinions. You'll see with this that we're not just doing one event. It's really different events to attract different audiences, to meet the needs of all those audiences. And so that's one thing that I would encourage people to do as well.
And I love a couple things that happened this time around, right? Certainly the marketing team, communications team, and I'm sure the executives came up with kind of high level what we wanted to cover. But then they went to these committees, right? Emalie, Camille, and I aren't alone in our committees. We had groups that we worked with, and having a bunch of those folks committed to getting on regular calls on top of their regular job to talk about how to make their portion of the event as impactful as possible was really special to see, right? What I loved, and I don't know exactly how those committees were picked. It feels like it was more than just drawn out of a hat, but every single person truly cares about this organization. And that's the warning I'd have if you're going to step into one of these roles or committee. You have to care about the organization, not just your group, because we are not just trying to reach Doug's downline in this event. We're not just trying to reach the people in HQ or in EMEA, LATAM, wherever it may be. We're trying to reach everybody. So you have to be open-minded and hear other points of view. And I'm really proud of how the committee came together and did that and kind of, talked about what would be the ideal way for our portion of the event to go, and kind of came together. And I'm proud of what the committee did. And I'm really proud looking back on the group who decided to go to this route on what they did. Because it certainly would have been easy for me just to show up next week and let your team, Steve, Nicole, do this all with some executive support. But it's going to feel that much more special on how many other people were involved and how a broad section of this audience of MarketStar was able to kind of build this.
Yeah, I totally agree. Emalie was going to say something, so I'll let her jump in, but everybody's got some skin in the game, really. And I just want to say, you guys did a fantastic job with planning your respective committees. Each and every person a part of your committees did absolutely fantastic. And we love the opportunity to include as many people as possible in planning these events. I feel like it was really special, and it was almost like a camaraderie experience, even though we're kind of in our own spheres. Our committees were responsible for different things, but the feeling of overall contributing to something bigger was really cool.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback, especially on what Doug said, is that we didn't do this alone. We had a committee, each of us, of terrific people to help us determine what would be best for the whole organization. And so I think mine's more of just, I don't know if it's advice, but even a takeaway, in that I loved the process that we went through because I got to work with people that I don't regularly get to see or talk to every day. Maybe I would have in the past, passing each other through the hallway or through the parking garage, but getting to hear their perspective and their process and just getting to work with, many different people outside of my team, I think was the greatest experience for me, although it be a selfish one, not so much for other people in terms of advice, but that to me was probably one of the biggest takeaways and, greater parts of helping and being picked to put this together. So I appreciate that.
I don't have a story to tie to this, but I think this is a mindset that I learned from this, which is when these types of projects and initiatives come together, it's important to plan around the vision and not plan around the means. Doing your best to build what is the best solution, what is the best product, what is really going to help us envision this in the best way possible. And then we can turn to our means, our budget, our logistics, our limits, and figure out how we can accomplish in that notion. I think I've brought this up several times before, but I believe it was the mindset of Walt Disney, who always said, I don't surround myself with people who say no because. I like to surround myself with people who say yes if. And it's that idea of, if you feel like you have the best answer to bring to the table, we want to hear it. And I think that's kind of a notion I've heard from a lot of different people who've been involved with this, is do not be afraid to step in and say, hey, I have a thought, I have an idea, I want to go with this. Don't just go with what has happened before or what has worked. And if you really believe in that vision, let's make it happen. And, this podcast was birthed out of that mindset. It was me talking to other employees about the idea and assuming in my mind, like there's 100 reasons why they would say no to that. I just don't know if I want to go to that effort. And them finally saying, well, just do it. Just take it to the table, and the support to make that happen. And there are a lot of elements of that over this past year, but to see this come to earth, I've been really impressed that a lot of what was initially envisioned in the plans, not a lot of things have been, I would say, watered down or cut short or fully swiped. In a lot of ways, we've been able to build several different vehicles. Like we've said before, this isn't just kind of one standalone thing. This is very much a buffet of different dishes that all have had a chance to come together in their own and unique way. And I think that's what's really been inspiriting for a lot of people. What I would ask is, we have a few more minutes before we put a close on this, is, as of course, one element of this is not only the Growth Summit, but we're coming in on really the year anniversary of the official rollout of the purpose and values to the company. We've had a chance to see its evolution in its infancy stage in this first year, see the impact that it's made from the go, and more so what more we'll be able to see as far as impact from here on out. As you guys have had a chance to be a part of this experience, what have been the core values that have most come to mind, that have most meant something to you individually through doing this and through improving yourself under this system?
I'll start. Yeah, I think, I'm certainly excited about the values, our core values, and the purpose of growth. And, it was really exciting when we formally launched to the organization last year. And I think this is a really big step for us to, really move forward with growth beyond just words on paper, right? We're giving them the opportunity. You'll see, as some of you have already seen some of the content of the Growth Summit, it's not just about MarketStar. It's about how you grow as an individual. Emalie's speaker is a great, emphasis of that. But what I'll say is, from the value standpoint, I think what I love about them is, folks will challenge some, and do I really believe and tie into every single one of these the right way? But, and we're certainly not perfect in terms of living each and every single one every single day. But I find that folks find a way to be attracted to at least one, and one that they really kind of hang their hat on and really buy into. And that's hard when you're talking about an organization as spread out as ours. Certainly as a leader in the organization, I've always looked at leadership as my role in our organization. And when I look for leaders, and I've been an opportunity over the past few months to have to find new leaders for certain roles, new program managers, new directors, it's interesting. I don't look at technical experience or even an experience in a particular role as much as I look in leadership qualities. And, the leaders who amplify has always resonated with me, because it's the type of person I aspire to be. A while ago, I had an opportunity to leave MarketStar for another role, and it was good compensation, good title. And ultimately I didn't do it because I would have led a team. And I look at myself as a leader, and the folks that I hire for directors and program managers as leaders. And if they're not amplifying individuals and not making the people who work for them better, and that's not their one of their first priorities, then we're doing it wrong. And you're not truly a leader. You can be a manager, you can manage numbers and manage performance, but are you a leader? So that's one that's always stuck with me, and I'm proud it's in here. And we continue to see it from the top down, as how do we amplify our individuals within this organization?
Yeah, I would say, especially, I'm biased being over talent development, but when Create Growth was rolled out, I loved it, because that's the passion we have and drive for in the organization within corporate training. And so that alone, with being masters of our craft and we care and you belong, we find ways to implement those into our content with onboarding, new client launches, just general skill enablement. And so I felt these really hit home, especially when it came to the Growth Summit and determining our speaker. As I said earlier, We Care was a really, really big player in why we wanted to bring a speaker in, focusing on mental wellness and the importance behind it that I think we all, can agree on and relate to. And so I love our purpose and values. I champion for them whenever we possibly can from a talent development perspective. And I think the Growth Summit is no different in highlighting how we really embody the culture of our purpose and values. And, try and drive them home and, work with everyone at that level or across the company.
As Emalie and Doug have said, I saw these values, we care, and leaders who amplify, definitely as we were preparing for this, and even as this is the next version of the Growth Summit. One thing that stood out to me is the value of all in every day. Through the preparation of it, we definitely saw that. But our leaders and we as employees are making the decision to push pause in our regular days to be all in for the Growth Summit. And we're making that investment of our time. It's so that we can better ourselves. It's so that we can be inspired, get to know each other, be a little bit more human. But it's not just for show. It's to help us take a second to breathe, to learn, to grow, and then be the better version of ourselves to be all in every day.
I love that mindset, because I remember when I was first learning and looking at all in every day, my natural assumption was similar to, I'm sure, a lot, which was like, oh, that's the grinding value. That's the put in the work, show up, get your head down, start digging type of thing. And there's elements to that certainly reflect, but it goes so much more beyond that, because it really is about mindset. It's about not just the doing, it's not just in doing the what, but understanding the why. And, what is the purpose for really building this out and buying into that? Well, not just on a company perspective, but on a personal perspective. And I think it's something that has helped resonate with me. I've always been a big champion of creativity that impacts, in that hearing unique and thoughtful ideas, hearing innovative ways to build improvements. In the committee work that I've done with the summit, it's been fun when someone drops in with an idea and you feel a palpable buzz across the group when they see it and they go, this is fantastic. I had no idea this is something we could actually do. And, this is not something I'd thought of. I love the angle here. It's really cool to see that level of energy, because it just makes people really excited to share this with the rest of the company. And that's the type of stuff that bleeds through to an organization right away, when they feel that genuine buzz, that genuine thought of, no, we honestly believe this is something good. This isn't lip service. This isn't a script we've been handed from down on high. This matters to us. And that authenticity goes in an extremely long way.
It's a big deal, right? It's going to be a fun time. And I only hope that everybody listening and those who are attending the summit feel half as exhilarated as I'm sure all of us do right now about it. So that as long as the experience, lives up to how much we've put into it, and it definitely will, right? I believe in every one of us to make it just an outstanding week of great just reflections on growth.
Absolutely. That's what's really been exciting, really, about this entire experience, why I think we're going to be able to put a cap on 2021 in a really exciting way. But is there anything else from the group that you guys want to call out? Any last thoughts and questions before we put a close on things today?
Also, thank you for having us on. To Doug's point at the beginning, I listen every week, and I will say I'm a fan. Very different being on the other side of things, and almost nerve-wracking, but this experience has been awesome, and just appreciate the support, the creativity.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the thank you for the wide group of people who put this together, and I certainly realize at this point now the heavy lifting is on the marketing group. I would just say thank you for this, inviting us, but keeping this podcast going. The more ways we can communicate to our audience, which is spread all over, not just in location, but in generation, right? Folks like to be communicated in a different way. And I'm really proud that MarketStar has found a bunch of different ways to engage and communicate with the organization. Not just newsletters and email, there's videos and there's podcasts, and now this Growth Summit in a virtual way is really exciting. So keep up the good work, keep trying these things out and finding ways to engage folks in as many ways as possible, because it means a lot. There are individuals who do listen and do participate in these things, and it means a lot to them. So thank you for continuing to find ways to engage our teams.
Very cool. Glad to know
Absolutely.
that, the different ways, that's what the sentiment was, is multiple different ways to engage. And we have a lot to reflect on this year. This is the first year the podcast has been running, and this is more or less Steve's baby. So we just kind of brought it to life for him. So, I mean, this has been an awesome time.
For all I could say, the one thing I can encapsulate all, it's been an adventure for sure. We've just really loved being a part of this, and really culminating the year out with the summit really adds to it for sure. But we're just about at our time. I just want to say again to thank you so much for Emalie, Camille, Doug, for taking the time to share perspectives with us, and very excited to continue to see what output we get here. But thank you so much for taking your time. It's been a really fantastic discussion.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of MarketStar's Living the Six podcast. We'll be back next month with new guests and topics to continue sharing stories and perspectives on MarketStar's purpose and values. Be sure to download and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and stay connected with us to let us know what you've enjoyed about the show and any thoughts on what we can do to make the listener experience even better. MarketStar employees can connect with the show on Facebook Workplace, and all listeners can contact us by emailing talentdevelopment@marketstar.com and including podcast in the subject line. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.